The images, all of the images that you see on your screen are of the crash site, some of the latest images that we're getting right now. We have some images here of General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. Recent pictures of the both of them. The Chief of Defence Staff was to deliver a lecture at the Wellington Defence Services Staff College, and this helicopter was dropping him to the Staff College for that lecture when it crashed into that mountain. Colonel Denny is back with me. Colonel Denny, a very, very unspeakably tragic day. There is a confirmation that 11 of the 14 persons on board that helicopter, have been killed in the crash. No names have been released just yet. We're awaiting a confirmation, but the worst is being feared given the pictures of this accident. Your opening comments on this terribly, terribly tragic eventuality, sir.
Oh, extremely disturbing news, Shiv, although there's no confirmation as such, but 11, as you mentioned, we know that there are fatal casualties, and extremely sad, and there are no words to actually express the kind of shock one is to react to such a situation. And especially as a faculty at the Defence Service Staff College, where I remember you also had come as a guest lecturer there to deliver the talk to the students there. So the procedures, and it's all well laid down, standing operating procedures for all kind of speakers who come there, and especially for the Chief of Defence Staff. I remember when he had come in 2018, if I remember correctly, also I was there. And what I'm trying to say is that even these choppers, before the VVIP land in Wellington, they make multiple rehearsal dry runs, and such minute details are followed. And as you've been saying in your show previously, that these are one of the best pilots in the world with so much of experience of flying. And even if there are bad weathers and such like issues, also they know that area so well that even that what altitude they need to fly to avoid those mountains and such like things and all. So it's really tragic, and one really finds it very difficult to fathom that why how did it happen, how come such a high profile dignitary on board and such a crash. And absolutely there are absolutely loss of words, Shiv.
Absolutely. I mean, I share your sentiment and emotions. There is a complete and deep sense of shock right now that an accident of this kind would happen. Any accident is shocking. It is perhaps even more shocking naturally when it involves a senior officer. The safety protocols, believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, they are the same no matter who is flying, because the loss of any human life is unacceptable. But here you've got the top military officer of the country, General Bipin Rawat. He's the country's first Chief of Defence Staff, and his wife, who were on board that helicopter. There are all kinds of speculations circulating on social media, and that's why we are waiting on the government, the Defence Minister, to come out and put out some clarity. Because there is a huge degree of anxiety for families of those on board that helicopter. Even though I can confirm to you that the Indian Air Force is already in touch, the Indian Army is in touch with the families, and the Indian Air Force Chief has already left for the spot. He's left for Coonoor. Colonel Denny, would you like to comment on that? The Air Chief, rushing to the spot at this point of time. This was the Chief of Defence Staff. This was an Indian Air Force helicopter. The message this sends out, is of commitment, to the truth, to getting to the bottom of what happened, and also to pay tribute to those who've been lost. The Air Chief personally going to visit.
Absolutely, Shiv. The Chief of Defence Staff is the highest serving military officer of our country, and the fact that the Air Chief himself is coming to see the site and to get a first-hand information of exactly what has happened shows the kind of the resolve the people at the highest level have to find out exactly what went wrong or how did this happen. And secondly, a person of Air Chief's experience, once he lands on ground, like the famous saying that one look is worth 1,000 reports. So he can have a first-hand information and exactly what with his experience of vast flying, he can immediately come to know. Although of course there would be people do wait for the final report. But the experience is something which people can immediately come to know exactly what happened, what went wrong, and hence he can go back and brief the Prime Minister and the Raksha Mantri and give a accurate input to exactly what happened, rather than just so much of speculations in the social media, unnecessarily being played up by many.
Okay, so we're going to put all of that speculation aside. The Army Chief General Manoj Mukund Naravane, in fact, has just arrived at the Defence Ministry in South Block, where he is briefing Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. We understand that shortly after this, the Defence Minister will be making that statement in Parliament. The government is to issue a statement. Okay, we're hearing that the statement in Parliament might actually happen tomorrow, not today, but right now the Army Chief is briefing the Defence Minister at South Block in his office. Rajnath Singh had already visited the Chief of Defence Staff's residence. Okay, so we have a confirmation now that the Rajnath Singh, the Defence Minister, will be making a statement on this accident tomorrow in Parliament. We have a confirmation on that. It was supposed to be today, but it's going to happen tomorrow. We'll just bring in our reporters in on this. I'm going to ask for our reporters to join us as quickly as possible. Okay, Mausmi Singh is with me live. Mausmi, we have a confirmation now that the Defence Minister will be making a statement on this tragedy tomorrow in Parliament. Do we have a sense of why it has been felt necessary to wait till tomorrow?
Right, Shiv. So perhaps the government has deferred the statement to tomorrow, perhaps trying to still see get the details of the incident and the entire information. Perhaps the scale of the tragedy is still being found out, and many of them actually in the hospital. There are severe burn injuries, and there are survivors who've been admitted in the hospital. So perhaps the sense is that the government would come with a comprehensive statement in the House, in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha tomorrow. But the Defence Minister did come and visit at 3 Kamraj Marg and meet the family members. We've seen many visitors who are coming in, especially women family members of other officials who have come in. We know that the Air Chief's wife did go in a while ago. So that is the kind of solemnness, the solidarity, and perhaps expressing the deep support for in this tragic moment. It's a very difficult moment for the family members. Earlier, the Defence Minister did take a briefing on the entire matter. We do know that M.K. Stalin, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, would be going and visiting the hospital and trying to inquire about the well-being of the injured. And right now, we can tell you that Kamraj Marg is a very busy road with a strict security cordon. Everybody actually hoping that the worst does not come true, and everybody praying for the recovery of the survivors. But it is a tragic incident, and perhaps because the Parliament is in session, the Defence Minister would have to inform the Parliament about this tragic incident. Now, inside, we do know that if you see that there is a security cordon. We've seen a lot of relatives who are inside. As soon as perhaps the news came in, they came to be there for the family members in a very testing time. And we also know that the Home Minister has briefed the Prime Minister of this entire incident and given the latest update. We'll have to wait for a statement tomorrow now in the House, Shiv.
Statement's going to happen tomorrow in the House. Mausmi, continue to stay with me because you're going to front this story from the Chief of Defence Staff's residence in just a moment from now. I also want to tell you that India Today is reporting from the site of the crash. We're not giving you second-hand information from what has happened. My colleague Garansi Sivakumar has sent us this report from very close to where this helicopter so tragically crashed. Take a look.
ये कुन्नूर टू मेट्रोपोलिटन जाने का रास्ता में एक जगह नंजपुरा सत्रम विलेज है। वो विलेज कोयमुटूर से कुन्नूर वेलिंगटन का एक हेलीकॉप्टर आएगा, कुन्नूर से रानू ऑफिसर्स का हेलीकॉप्टर आएगा। कुन्नूर का 5 किलोमीटर का सामने ये नंजपुरा सत्रम विलेज का ऊपर आने का टाइम ये ट्री में तोड़ के बहुत मिस्ट है मुश्किल है इसलिए टच करके वो नीचे गिर गया सर। वो नीचे गिरने के बाद यहाँ से 11 आदमी यहाँ से अंदर स्पॉट में मर गया। अभी 3 आदमी उधर से ट्राई करेगा सर निकालने के लिए। फायर सर्विस एंड पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट सब लोग उधर से ट्राई करेगा। इंडिया टुडे का गारंटी कुमार कुन्नूर।
So the defence minister will be briefing parliament only tomorrow. That's tomorrow is when a statement from the government is expected. Is expected from the government in parliament tomorrow. The defence minister today is being briefed by the army chief as we speak in South Block. And in a short while from now, it is likely that there will be more information coming out from the Ministry of Defence to the press as well ahead of that statement that comes tomorrow in Parliament. Mausami Singh still reporting from outside the Chief of Defence Staff's residence. We're also joined by Colonel S. Dinny and Amitav Ranjan, our experts who are with us on this tragic, complicated story that we're bringing to our viewers non-stop here on India Today. Mausami, General Bipin Rawat and Madhulika Rawat have 2 daughters, Kritika and Tarini. One of them is based in Mumbai. Are we hearing any information about where the family is right now? Obviously, they are completely in the loop on what is taking place. Any information on what's happening inside the Chief of Defence Staff's residence?
All right, I'll just tell Sanjeev to give you a view of how there is a gathering at the lawns here. The younger daughter of General Bipin Rawat stays with them at this residence, and perhaps it was her that the defence minister actually came to meet. A very solemn look of the house here. Nobody would have ever imagined that a tragedy of this scale would unfold, and though media's often come to his residence, but for this reason nobody would have ever thought that such an incident could actually unfold, a very tragic one. And you can see that as the visitors come, the protocol is being followed right here outside the residence, where there is a strict cordon because there could be possibly a lot of VVIP movement in the hours to follow, perhaps by the top members of the leadership in the government and in the defense. And that's one reason that a strict security protocol, of course, dozens of media cameras are also here. We are told that the younger daughter is at the residence, and other family members have come to be there with her. Now, importantly, Shiv, even as this news was trickling in, you can see the sea of support for General Bipin Rawat and all those who were in that copter, from the political stream to the general public. There's all the chief ministers have put out tweets praying for the speedy recovery and praying and hoping that there could be more survivors in the incident. Of course, the reports that we're getting from ground zero are not very, very convincing and not really reassuring. But, in this hour of tremendous tragedy, we can really see that the daughter of Chief of Defence Staff is not alone. She is here with a sea of support. The people of this country praying. Her parents, her mother and father, both perhaps caught in a very tragic accident. She would also, of course, be hoping for the well-being of her parents. But importantly, there has been a lot of sympathy, a lot of support that has flown in, not only from the masses but also from the political fraternity. Of course, he's been a very, very celebrated nominated officer, the first chief of defense staff, and that's why that's one reason, he is actually the pride of the country. And at this moment, I can tell you that there would be millions who would be praying for the well-being of the survivors, the security personals, and other officials of the defense who were traveling with him. Right now, here, the resident bears a very, very a bit quiet and very, very somber look, Shiv.
Mausami, Colonel Dini and Amitabh Ranjan continue to be with us on the story. Colonel Dini, the defense minister is to make that statement tomorrow in Parliament. There was speculation that he would be making that statement today, but I'm guessing that a lot of briefings need to be had before a clear picture of what is to be communicated to Parliament needs to happen, because this is a story of monumental tragedy, a tragedy of monumental proportions, before the defense minister can share that information with Parliament. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why they've decided to do it tomorrow and not today, sir.
Absolutely, Shiv. I think, before giving out the facts to the public, it is of utmost importance that the facts are given in the right manner and in the correct information is given. So that is why I think the air chief is also landing here. And once he also comes to know what exactly would have gone wrong, and then probably the government would be having a complete picture, or at least the initial, the reasons of what went wrong, and also the final list of the casualties, of all those people who were there on that ill-fated helicopter. So, but suffice to say that I think the government is just trying to get all the information and then make it public as of now.
They will be making a statement on that in Parliament tomorrow. Amitabh Ranjan, a former Mi-17 pilot, is with me. He's been talking us through the different kinds of catastrophic scenarios in which a helicopter of this kind would actually go down. I just want to focus, sir, for a moment on the crash site itself. I want to put all of those images of the crash site on our screen. It truly is a macabre image of all these, this visual detail of the crash site. Mr. Ranjan, when the Court of Inquiries begins the process of trying to find answers as to how this tragedy happened, what would they be picking up from this site? I want to understand, and I want my viewers to have the best possible information. You've been a pilot. You know how these things actually work. When the Court of Inquiry gets to this site, what are the things that they're going to be looking for, picking up? Because all that we, the lay viewers, the civilians, are seeing is a mangled, burning heap of a wreckage.
Okay, to start off with, generally, for any inquiry to go on, there are two things which are necessary, which in popular terminology we call as black box, but practically they are orange color boxes. One, the Mi-17 V5 has a solid state flight data recorder, which records all the parameters. When I say all, it records any and everything which has happened. The other one is again a solid state cockpit voice recorder. That is also an orange color box. And it is to survive crashes. These are housed in the tail boom, which as you would have seen in the images, tail boom doesn't burn. It basically separates from the main body, and those are kept in shock mounts. So there is hardly any damage. Till the time they are not deciphered, nobody knows what has happened, because unless you have a camera facing inwards and knowing what is happening throughout, which is an impossibility. And a camera cannot be transmitting continuously, because if it does, then everybody knows the location of that helicopter. So that on and so on and forth. So these cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder are first picked up. They are deciphered immediately. And if I am correct, the station at Coonoor has the facilities where they can be decoded immediately. And then the chief of air staff would be able to come out with a definitive conclusion as to what has happened. Why? That will come with the Court of Inquiry. But what has happened is the most important thing as of now. Why it happened? That will come on later on. I have served on this fleet for 29 years, long years, continuously flying. And believe you me, this is one of the most tragic things I have seen. Been through so many situations, been with emergencies on board, and a few of my colleagues would remember that landed with a central minister also with a major emergency on board at a certain period of time, not long back. But these aircrafts are survivable. They can get you through most of the difficult situations. But in case, like I was pointing out, in case you have a technical or a technical defect or an emergency combined with bad weather, that is where things go wrong. And as the live coverage was bringing out, when a witness is saying there was a thick mist or fog, whatever. So it's a fog as far as the aviation is concerned. So in case there is any kind of emergency in fog, it can lead to disastrous results, which we have seen. So that is my take on that. And
Absolutely.
further on to you, Shiv.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Group Captain Ranjan, I appreciate the detail that you've brought to this story, because it's very important for us, to appreciate how complicated, this entire exercise is amidst the tragedy. So the Indian Air Force and the personnel, who are dealing with this tragedy will also be trying to piece together, what has happened while digesting while digesting every part of this absolutely unspeakable accident in which the Chief of Defence Staff and his wife Madhulika Rawat were also on board that helicopter. A statement is going to be made tomorrow in Parliament. All kinds of speculation. We are ignoring all the speculation, and we will only give you confirmed information as and when it comes in from the ground. It doesn't look good. We're fearing the worst, and that information in a formal manner will be put before you, the viewer, as soon as we get it. Colonel Dini continues to be with us. Mausami Singh is reporting from outside the Chief of Defence Staff's residence. The Chief of Defence Staff and Madhulika Rawat have two daughters, one of whom lives with them, as Mausami was telling us. Their other daughter is married. She lives in Mumbai. We understand that she is on her way to Delhi right now as well. All kinds of arrangements are being made at this point of time before the Defence Minister makes that statement in Parliament tomorrow. There have been accidents of this kind in the past. Colonel Dini, I just wanted to, because many people, tend to ask the question, how could such an accident happen with such a big dignitary on board? And my answer to many of them is that safety is paramount. There can never be anything called, extra safety for a dignitary. When there are humans on board, the military has standard safety procedures no matter what. Am I right in saying that, sir?
Absolutely. Whenever, and especially the aviation, for aviation, the standards are absolutely the same. They don't have any, of course, we all understand that it's part of our upbringing and a part of the thing which that when somebody senior enough comes, we take that extra care. That is a different issue. But the safety procedures, the standing operating procedures, as far as this is concerned, it is the same. I mean, there's no discrimination in that. And that's what I was saying, that as a procedure, whenever there is a speaker who lands on the helicopter in Wellington, the dry rehearsals are done. The pilots take off from Coonoor, land in the Wellington helipad there, make a few dry runs, and then they go back. And this also during even without a visit also they do this training sorties on and off. So they are very much aware of exactly what is the kind of terrain and what is the kind of forest coverage and what is the kind what altitude is the hills and all those things that they're aware of. I mean, it is not that something which they do only for a VIP visit. No, it is an ongoing everyday process for them.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing and everyday process for them. It's not like there is, suddenly VIP extra maintenance because a dignitary is on board. Safety is a safety is an extreme. There is no slight safety or maximum safety. Safety is safety. So anybody who has any doubts about that, let me make it absolutely very clear for you. Now, ZP5164 was the helicopter that crashed in this terrible tragedy. It belonged to the 115 helicopter unit in Coonoor. That is the helicopter that has faced this absolutely terrifying accident. We'll be having more information for you on the people on board in just a minute, because we want to, if you look at the bottom of our screen, the names of the persons on board are being put out at this point of time from the government. So we're releasing what we are able to at this point of time. We're not commenting on their condition. Not commenting on their condition at this point of time, but that's the helicopter that has crashed. ZP5164 is the Mi-17 V5 helicopter that crashed. This helicopter was part of a deal of helicopters that were procured post 2008. So they've been in service for quite a while now, but relatively speaking, they are modern, very reliable helicopters that form the backbone of the Indian Air Force's airlift and logistics arm. So these are hugely dependable, no-nonsense, rugged military helicopters that are very much the core of the entire logistics fleet of the Indian Air Force and the Indian military at large. These are the helicopters in which politicians and government leaders also travel in. These are the helicopters that are enlisted to ferry dignitaries and VIPs during all kinds of events, including this one. These are the helicopters you see during disaster relief operations. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with these helicopters. Let there be no doubt about that. ZP's 5164 is a helicopter that's been in service for more than a decade now. Nothing out of the ordinary about the flight path that was taken. The pilots, a group captain and a squadron leader, completely very well qualified. President Ramnath Kovind, this is a further signal of just how bad the news is in Coonoor, ladies and gentlemen. President Kovind has cancelled a scheduled event in Mumbai. He was there to inaugurate a Darbar hall of some kind in Mumbai later today. He's cancelled that event and he is likely to make his way back to Delhi. Remember that the President of India is also the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. So that link between Rashtrapati Bhavan and the military is a very powerful and strong one. The President is the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces. It is in the President's name that all military officers are commissioned into the military ranks. And President Kovind, given the absolute unspeakable tragedy and gravity of what has happened, has cancelled his scheduled events and inaugurations in Mumbai, ceremonial events in Mumbai, and we are given to believe that he will be making his way back to Delhi in time for when the Defence Minister makes his statement in Parliament tomorrow. So he's cancelled those events. So these things don't happen unless the news is really bad, and that gives you another indication of just how sad and tragic the news from Coonoor this morning, this afternoon really is. Mosmi Singh, I want to bring her in as well, because she tracks all arms of government and the Indian system, so she's well plugged into how this story is unfolding. Mosmi, with every passing minute, another indicator of just how sad the news from Coonoor really is this Wednesday. President Kovind has cancelled all his events in Mumbai, and he's likely to be headed back to Delhi. I mean, that pretty much tells the story, Mosmi.
Absolutely, Shiv. Like you said, that he is the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, so there is a clear link that Ramnath Kovind, the President of India, would want to return to the national capital. Also, other ministers, the Home Minister was supposed to meet the Trinamool Congress MPs at 3:30. Now, that meeting was also cancelled, citing that the Home Minister was busy in an urgent issue. And Rajnath Singh, we already know he was at South Block, cancelling all his engagements in the parliament, taking all the update. We do know that the government would take stock of the entire situation and make a comprehensive statement when the picture is a lot more clearer tomorrow. But at General Bipin Rawat's residence, I can tell you that many young visitors, youngsters have just gone in. Perhaps they are friends of General's daughter who've gone to visit her. They look like college students. Apart from the VVIPs, the steady flow of officials and members of top officers' family coming in. We've got some people who are actually going in, who are like supposedly the friends of the General's daughter, and there are no words to actually express the excellence of General Bipin Rawat, because remember, his father was also in the army. He's a man of uniform, a decorated officer, the best of the best. He is the most courageous and the bravest of officers of the country, and naturally the outpouring is very, very natural, whether across sections, be it the political fraternity. Here you can see that some other relatives and visitors going inside the house. So there's been a steady flow of visitors. We do know that the defense minister had come in, and perhaps the government being very, very careful, because it is a very, very sensitive situation. But it's ironic that he was actually adept in the skill of high altitude warfare, served in the in insurgency areas for more than 10 years. The kind of career that General Bipin Rawat has, the designation that he got, was he truly deserved it. He truly earned it, and he was a people's person. He was his battalion, the Gorkha Rifles. He was commissioned in the 5th Battalion of the 11th Gorkha Rifle, and he never stopped when he started. From 1978, it's been a prolific career, and we only hope that there would be some relief pouring in from down south, Shiv. Here you can see some visitors, in fact, going in an empty vehicle of an official. So clearly, Shiv, support coming in here at his residence.
Support, friends, family, dignitaries pouring in at the Chief of Defence Staff's residence. This is a tragedy of such monumental proportions that sometimes words cannot be found to describe the full extent of the implications. That's an Indian Air Force vehicle that is pulling out from the Chief of Defence Staff's residence. There are senior officials, senior dignitaries and officers who are pouring in at his residence in central Delhi to pay their respects, to meet with the family. Even though there is no confirmation just yet, there is of course information that that the government has that hasn't been put out just yet, but we will have that information for our viewers first here on India Today. Now, firefighter Ramachandran, who is present at the crash site in Coonoor, has given us some details of the relief operations. Just listen into what he's just told us.
நாங்கள் ஜிம்கான ஹெலிகாப்டர் டியூட்டி போயிருந்தோம். வழக்கமாக நாங்கள் போகிறது தான். மிலிட்ரி ஆஃபீஸர்லாம் வந்தாங்கன்னா 5 ஸ்டேஷனில் நாங்கள் போயிருப்போம். நாங்கள் நின்னா தான் வண்டி கீழே இறங்கி நாங்கள் போனோம். வண்டி கீழே இறங்காது. நாங்கள் காலைல 10 மணிக்கு அங்கே ஜிம்கான டியூட்டி பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தோம். அப்புறம் பார்த்து 12:20 ஆகிடுச்சு. வண்டி இன்னும் வரல. டேக் ஆஃப் ஆகிடுச்சுன்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. இன்னும் ½ hour ஆகியும் வரல. அப்புறம் இடையில எங்கள் மெசேஜ் வந்துச்சு, இந்த மாதிரி ஆக்சிடென்ட் ஆகிடுச்சுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்புறம் அங்கேருந்து கிளம்பி விரைவாக வந்துட்டோம். மூமெண்ட்லேயே நாங்கள் இருந்தோம். ஸ்பாட்டில் டப்பு நாங்கள் ஓடி வந்து இங்கே இடையில வந்துட்டு எங்களுக்கு 5-6 வண்டி வராது. வழி இல்லை. ஒரு காட்டுக்குள்ளே இருக்குது. நடந்து தான் வந்தோம். ஒரு 2 கிலோமீட்டர் நடந்து வந்தோம். வந்து விரைவாக வந்து செயல்பட்டனால 2 உயிரை நாங்கள் காப்பாற்றினோம். ஆனால் இப்போ எப்படி இருக்காங்கன்னு தெரில. ஒருத்தர் வந்து 90% தீக்காயும், இன்னொருத்தர் வந்து 45%. எங்களை பார்த்தாலே தெரியும். மற்றவங்களும் அடையாளம் எதுன்னு தெரில. மற்றவங்களாம் அடையாளம் தெரியாமல் தான் மீட்டணும்.
இது வரைக்கும் எத்தனை பாடி எடுத்துருக்கீங்க?
இது வரைக்கும் 12 பாடி, 2 உயிரோடு எடுத்துட்டோம்.
Let's listen into some eyewitnesses now on the ground as well.
இன்னொன்று பிளேன் ஹெலிகாப்டர் அப்படி வந்துச்சு. ஒரே சவுண்டு, கருகுமுன்னு சவுண்டு வந்தோடனே கீழே ஒரு மரத்தில் அடிபட்டு வரையிலேயே நெருப்பில் வந்துச்சு. நெருப்பில் வந்தோடனே இங்கே ஒரு பெரிய மரம் இருக்குது. அந்த மரத்தில் வந்து அடிபட்டோன்னே கீழே அப்படியே தட்டார்னு விழுந்தோடனே புகை வந்தோடனே ஒரு தீ பிடிச்ச உடனே நான் என்னடா தீ பிடின்னு பக்கத்தை விட்டு பையனை நான் கூப்பிட்டோன்னே அந்த பையன் என்ன செஞ்சாப்புல வந்து பார்த்துட்டு ஃபயர் சர்வீஸுக்கு போலீஸுக்கு ஃபோன் பண்ணோன்னே ஒருத்தர் எரிஞ்சு அப்படியே அந்த ஒருத்தர் சாயிறார். மற்றவங்கெல்லாம் நம்ம வரக்குள்ளேயே பொத்துன்னு விழுகுறாங்க.